Welcome to the Path of Passion podcast, the podcast where we meet people paving passionate paths per their own preferences. I am your host, Jordan, and this is my confident co host.
Hi, I'm your less illiterate co-host, Tyler.
And today we are interviewing Amanda, Chef Amanda. Amanda has been working as a chef for almost 10 years now and has recently started her own business called Sassy Cuisine. Uh, let's just go right into it. How did you get started? Why did you leave the traditional chef business to start your own company? And what's that journey been like for you?
Oh, okay. Um, all right. So working in restaurants is really hard. And I think a lot of people are coming to that fact now, especially with the pandemic. As you can see, like it's been really hard for them to find enough people to like work in restaurants. It's a very like unforgiving kind of job. It's hard. You get a tough time from like the customers and like people you work with. It's just backbreaking also, it's tough on your body. And I will also say being a female and in the back of the house of a restaurant is also, I think, very different kind of perspective. So I started my business because I kind of wanted to just take control and, be my own boss and take care of myself. But I also really like taking care of people, and that's where like the personal chef business came to be. I think it's very, very rewarding to go into someone's home and give them some kind of comfort and fuel their bodies and take care of their families. uh, it feels really good to be able to do that.
I can definitely I definitely understand that. So like I just like finished my doctorate like a couple months ago, and the last like final stretch, like my girlfriend cooked for me basically all the time, and it was very nice to have someone like prepare something and like you didn't have to put any effort in yourself. Like it was someone was taking care of you and making you feel good and taking you on like um I'd say like a journey of making like you start hungry, and it's always kind of no one's like there's a reason being hangry is the thing, and at the end you walk away like happy and satisfied. Like
Yeah, food is definitely very comforting. It's something that, I mean, for years the food tradition it's so rich. There's a lot of wisdom too in like ancient food tradition.
Is that what drew you to being a chef in the first place? Like, what was it that appealed to you and like first started you down this path?
um I was in a marketing class. So I originally dropped out of college, and when I was 29, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna finish my degree when I'm 30. I'm gonna go back to school. And at the time, I was working in an accounting department, so I signed up for accounting school. And I'm in my marketing class, and I'm just like, wow, this is gonna be the rest of my life. Like I'm gonna deal with like numbers and spreadsheets for forever. I'm like, do I really want to do this?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and in the marketing class, I'm like, I can market myself. Like, why don't I do what I'm passionate about? Why don't I do what I'm good at? Why can't I use my creativity and make a living off of that? So I quit school for accounting and I signed up for culinary school.
Were the people in your life supportive of your change? Because from some of the people we've talked to in the past, like sometimes their support group has been quite supportive, other times not as much.
I think it's kind of like a mix. I think people, my family and stuff, they were happy that I was doing something that I liked. I don't think that they thought it was the best idea to go make minimum wage after taking out like paying for school and leaving a pretty stable job to go make $11 an hour
Yeah.
in a freaking kitchen. But I managed to keep my house, like I'm still living here. So it all worked out.
That's awesome. So when you first entered the industry, what was it actually like? What were you expecting it to be like versus what was the reality?
Um, I guess expected I expected to be able to use a lot of my creativity in the kitchen. And when you first start out, you're not the head chef at a place. You're working on the line. You're probably doing salads, honestly. And it's just producing the same thing the same way every time. Like that's what you need to do to like make a menu work at a restaurant. Like the dish needs to taste the same every time someone comes in, no matter who's making it. So there's not that much creativity in it. Um, and what was the second part of that question?
Oh, I was just gonna like follow up on that part. So like, was it hard then, like in the beginning, being on the line? Like, you leave because you had this creativity and you want to exercise it, and you kind of fell back into this mundaneness. Like, right, being an accountant, you're just doing spreadsheets every day. Being on the line, you're making the same dish. So, how was dealing with having the lack of creativity?
Yeah, that part was tough, but like you kind of always look at like what you're working towards. So you have to be good on the line to be able to be a chef at some point. So it was always kind of like looking for, the prize at the end, like reaching the goal.
Along those lines, for a lot of things worth pursuing in life, there is often some part of it that is a grind that is less than pleasant, but it is a core part along the path to take you to where you want to go. So when you were in that, how did you keep yourself going and not necessarily motivated, but just on the path to where you want to go?
Um, I would just I'd stay at a restaurant long enough to learn what I could from those chefs there, and then I'd move on to the next place. I felt like where I got into the career at a later age, I wanted to learn as much as I could, like in a shortened amount of time, like just condense it all. So yeah, I just studied from different chefs, people and restaurants that I looked up to and learned what I could and then moved on and learned more. So it just always kept everything like fresh.
So then, I guess I have two questions. One is like, how did you know when to make the jump? Like, how did you feel like I think I've learned what I can? And then two was in the beginning, was it like jumping from line position to line position, or was it like, like being on the line at this one restaurant, then on the line at another restaurant, or is it like, oh, you're on the line here, and then you became like a assist? I don't know the hierarchy, but like the step up above line in like another place.
I don't think what I did was very traditional at all, honestly. When I graduated school, I got offered a sous chef position right away, but it wasn't in a restaurant; it was at a cafeteria. So that's like a whole different ball game. Like, there's many different ways to be a chef. There's cafeterias, there's people's homes, there's restaurants, there's nursing homes, there's school systems. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. So I wouldn't say that like I started. There's no really beginning and end, I would say. So because I was at a cafeteria, after some time there, I was like, I don't have line experience except for the externship that I did at school. So I got a part-time job nights after the cafeteria working at a restaurant so I could get a taste of that. Um, but I think I was just a salad person and pizza. I did not a lot of stuff. I think I worked two stations, not even like fancy stations. I think they had me doing pastries for some of it too, because I think I was the only person that could like write happy birthday on plates with like chocolate ganache and stuff. Thank you, culinary school, for that. Um, but yeah, so I don't think there's like a traditional like trajectory of a beginning and end. I guess it depends on like what what you personally want, and what style you like to cook. And
Well, so along those lines, like tell us more a bit about yourself. Like what what is it that you wanted that took you to where you are?
so Right now, I'm in school to become a nutritional therapy practitioner. So I had some health things go on, autoimmune and depression, anxiety, and a few years ago, I started working with a nutritionist, and I got my health in order with food and supplements and some lifestyle changes. So that's what I want to be able to do for people is help them take their health and wellness into their own hands and empower them to be able to feel good. So right now, I am a personal chef where I'm just going into people's homes and making meals. Um, One of my favorite clients that I have right now actually is a cancer patient. He's fighting cancer, and
Oh
so
wow.
yeah, we cook a very specific
Yeah.
meal for him. Like he honestly, they hired me to make this anti-cancer soup basically for him, but I started incorporating a lot of different foods other than the soup. And he's just been so excited that he doesn't have to eat this one stupid soup like all the time that just tastes
Yeah,
bland.
that
That
could be
like,
really rough to eat the same. Like I like meal
ugh,
prep, but I can't do like more than like
The
3 days.
same thing for a month.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
yeah, he just had so many restrictions, and I think it limited his ability to have like any variety or excitement. And so I am so happy that I can provide him with like some excitement at mealtime. Like he's eating things that like he wasn't able to have before, or he didn't know. You know what I mean? But like I'm also incorporating like cancer fighting foods like in every meal that I make for him, and like it's awesome. I love that so much. But what I'm finding is now that I'm working for so many different people, my hands hurt again. And this happened when I was in restaurants. Like it's tough on your body. So when I get certified in nutrition, I'd like to transition to maybe being out of the kitchen and coaching people on how to create a menu plan, how to go to the supermarket and buy the right things, how to set up your pantry so that you're ready for success. You cannot just jump into a new diet protocol without researching it first, being comfortable with what foods you're going to take out and what you're going to replace them with. Because if there's something that you like a lot and you don't know like what you're going to be replacing it with, like that can be really scary and like sad. So I want to show people that it's not super hard when you have someone that can help you. Um, Even like, if you're going like dairy free or gluten free, for instance, like those products are really expensive at the store. And like, you don't want to
Yes.
spend money on something that you're going to take home and be like, oh, this is awful. But like, I've tasted and tried and done all of those protocols myself. So like, I know what works and like, I know what things, I can suggest to people and like take a lot of that guesswork out.
Yeah, that's awesome. So really more than just like now and also towards the future, more than just cooking food for people, you are helping improve their lives just holistically. And
Exactly.
yeah, that's awesome. And I know so growing up, there wasn't a lot of cooking that happened in my house. And there was 1 month where I tried going vegetarian, and all I had were like in the freezer some like veggie patties because I didn't know how to do I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know how to plan for myself. But I knew I liked burgers, and that's like a burger substitute or like burger adjacent. And since then, I have learned how to cook, and I can do more vegetarian stuff, and I can be a bit more flexible. But like growing up, I had no idea, and I think there's it, like I would say I 100% agree with you. It's not the hardest once you have it, what especially if you have help, but there's not a psychological barrier, but it's the kind of thing that if you don't know what you don't know, it's really hard. But once you have some guidance, that helps you so much.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
Well, I mean, like, there's also right the fact that like right, your wife is vegetarian, so like, that there's that source of guidance. But also when you and I lived in a co-op, like there was a bunch of people that were vegan there, and we had to learn how to cook a lot of vegan food. And it's just like simple things. Like if you don't know like nutritional yeast exists, it's really hard to cook vegan. You just can't. Like it's like the replacement for cheese. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So in like in this past time working with your current clients, what are some of the things that you were surprised weren't more common knowledge?
um, there's so much that isn't common knowledge, and like it, honestly, that was like one of the questions that we started with in class this week in school. Is like, you guys already know more than the normal population before even getting into this course. And like, how are you going to dumb down that knowledge and make it more basic for people living the standard American diet? It's that's going to be the challenging part for me. Like, it's crazy to me, I guess, how much people think a salad, like they'll go to a restaurant and they'll order a salad and they think that that is the healthiest thing on the menu. Once you add all the cheese and dressing and croutons and everything that's on that salad, it probably has more calories than something else. You know what I mean? Like, that's not always the best choice. But like, people have gotten so far removed from where their food comes from, how it's grown, how it gets to them, how to prepare it. Like, we are so everything comes out of packages. And in those packages, they have to load it up with sugars and fats to make it taste good. And in this era of, having food like substances and chemicals that make things taste good and hijack your brain into making those things taste better than regular food. And then if you're buying produce at the supermarket, it's not going to taste as good as if you got it from the farm because it's not grown in healthy soils. It's not picked when it's ripe because of shipping. It's sat on a shelf for a week, so it's lost a lot of its nutrition. Like, there's so much. There's so much to it.
Yeah, I know some fruit is actually, I think, dyed because or if it's not a specific color, they throw it out because this is what the customers expect, even though it isn't even necessarily any nutrition. It might even be, I think it's often nutritionally worse, but that's
Yeah.
just what customers have come to expect. But if you actually have the relationship with the farm, then you can know more what you're putting into your body.
Yeah, I think CSAs are one of the greatest things that we could do, not only to get like healthy, nutritious produce to your steps, but also protect the land in your area. I know that a lot of people go vegetarian because they think it's like better for the planet. Um, and maybe there's, there are other reasons, but some people will do it because they think it's better for the planet. I just read a book called Cows Save the Planet, and like, we actually need the cows to get the carbon out of the air and back into the soils and create healthy soils where grasses can grow to get the carbon out of the air and store it down here. It's going to help with climate change. Um, the problem isn't with the cows. The problem is with the farming practices. We have monocultures, we have feeding stations, we have cows eating corn and processed in places. It's not the cows. It's just it's the way that we're farming now.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense because there's been a lot of studies where like they would change like a cow's diet, like taking it off the corn-based diet, grass-fed, also introducing seaweed, and methane levels just drop. Like it's just this I it's and also just like why like I remember one of the big things in like if you go to like Australia, for example, you can get pork tartare because the reason why we cook pork so much is because of the farming practices here because but you get ringworms and stuff introduced because we don't keep things sanitary. It's all mass production. And same thing with salmonella. It's the way we defeather chickens is what exposes chicken breast to salmonella.
Yes. Yeah. There is like a right way to do it. There's a farmer, I think he's in Virginia, Joel Salatin, and his whole farm is like a permaculture where he rotates the cows across the grasses so that it doesn't totally consume. The cows then poop and fertilize the grasses. Then they have the chickens come in and eat the larva out of the poop. Like there is a right way to do it, and it's healthier for us, for the planet, for the animals. It's yeah.
So I know that a lot of people, myself included, it always feels like there's almost an overwhelming amount of obstacles in the place to actually like making a difference. So what are some like actionable items that you would recommend for just the average person to like make these kinds of positive changes in their life?
Join a CSA. Join a local CSA.
And CSA
Unfortunately
stands
for us,
for
community supported agriculture. So basically, what you do is at the beginning of a growing season, you give a farm whatever their fee is for the season. You pay up front. They plant foods, and every week you get a box of fresh food that's grown in Massachusetts or wherever you are. So in Mass, we have summer, like spring, summer, fall shares. There are some winter shares, but they're mostly like root vegetables, potatoes, beets, onions, that type of thing. And then we also here in Mass we have CSAs that do meat. Like I've been using Walden Local Meat for.
They advertise all the time for me.
I love them. Their food is so good.
That's good to
Yeah,
know. I definitely, I definitely been like curious if I should like check them out. Like,
I 100% think it's worth it. I've been doing it for
okay,
so long. You don't get to pick exactly what gets sent to you, but like you
but
get
that's also, I guess,
to.
the adventure, right? Like, the sign of a good chef. I mean, the number of culinary shows I've watched, and they're like, and your mystery box is like,
I remember like our final practical at school. It was a mystery box.
really.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about that? Like, 'cause that sounds like you're doing a one of the like standard TV show fairs, but like actually as your exam.
Yeah, I think I got some stewing beef and black beans and dried chilies in my box, and I had to create something from that.
that sounds like fajitas to me.
I did some kind of like I stewed the meat in the beans and I made some type of like sweet potato croquette and did that on top of it.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, it was good.
So with sassy cuisine now, like how much of your you started off with marketing and like in that experience, how much of it is that versus how much of it is you cooking versus how much of it is like what you are most passionate about in terms of like helping other people and providing for them, like improving their lives?
I mean, every week I get to go see these people, like especially during the pandemic. Like I'd see my clients more than I'd see my friends and family, you know? they
They
I
were
think
your pod.
they were my pod. It was awesome. It's really fun being able to connect. And a lot of the times like the kids will come home from school and like they'll smell the house, it'll smell so good and everyone gets so excited and they're like, what's for dinner? I don't know, it's just like that's the best. It feels really good. And I don't really do a whole ton of marketing really. I try to partner with, you know, other holistic professionals that have helped me. Like I put some stuff up at my chiropractor's office or at my nutritionist office. I put up a sign because I know the protocol she's recommending. So if any of her clients are having a tough time, like I already know I can help them. And most of it's word of mouth, honestly. And the funny thing is I'm in the Jewish community. Like I'm non-denominational. I don't really practice like a religion. I'm a spiritual person, but I don't really practice a religion. But like everyone I cook for is Jewish.
So how did, if you didn't really do any marketing, like how did you get your first batch of customers? Like, how did you get your first batch of like clients?
This is kind of crazy. So I was working before the pandemic. I was working at the Broad Institute as an administrative assistant, and my boss at the time, she didn't really need my services when the pandemic hit. Like travel stopped. I used to book all her travel. Like there just wasn't a big need, but she had a doctor friend with a family and she needed a chef. So she put me in touch with her, and then word of mouth from there, except for like one other person that I got through my chiropractor. So basically referrals.
That is crazy. Like, I feel like if you have that viral word of mouth, that is just a massive compliment to you and your capabilities. I feel like any business would love to be like, oh, we got one customer referred to us, and then everyone else was referred from them. Like that is crazy. Did you did you necessarily expect this? Like, how did that feel with all everyone actually wanting to work with you and have you work with them?
I mean, I didn't really know what to expect, especially starting this during the pandemic. Like I was flying by the seat of my pants. Like, I don't know. It's just like job hunting was so awful. Like looking for another administrative job, and I'm like, why do I even want to do this? Like, let me just cook for people. Like, I know I've been able to help myself get my health into order. I can definitely help other people do that.
It's interesting that you mentioned like right because like job hunting sucks and just like also like do you really want to be like sorry CPA like the rest of your life you doing all that and like it's just like a lot of and I think a lot of people put up with it because you have the security of like you're like well it is a job but like it's kind of interesting that like well that security is taken away when the pandemic hit and now you're like well do I really want to put an effort to go back to this that I didn't like in the first place and
Exactly. Exactly. That was exactly it. I'm like, I had that boring job because of security, having benefits and vacation. And, you think it's a stable job you're going to be at for forever until you want to leave. Um, yeah, it's
Uh,
not really that way. No one's going to take care of you as much as you're going to take care of yourself.
Well, I also think, and with my own experience this past year trying to start two of my own businesses, there are some unexpected fear. I'm not sure if unexpected fears. There's a lot of unexpected stuff that can come up with trying to start your own thing. So, I guess, what was your tactic for just building up the courage to take that leap?
I mean, what else was I gonna do? I was unemployed and I was sitting at home and scared to go out. Like, I
That's fair.
don't. It was the best time to like make a change. It really was. I mean, I did the personal chef stuff before that, like 3 years before. I was doing that for a short time, but as soon as I got that stable office job, I went back to it. Um, I don't ever want to do that again. Like I want to expand this. I want to help people feel better. Like I think nutritional counseling is going to be like the thing for me to do. Like I think that is my calling.
it's really that's so awesome that you were able to find this as your calling and like it also just like your journey also reminds you of like my dance teacher we interviewed him like a while back and he was a chemical engineer and he was good at it but he started teaching dance like while he was a chemical engineer and what really pushed him to do it was that one day and this is a year or maybe 2 years before the pandemic they're just like oh we're like the department's moving like we're gonna cut you here's your severance and he's like I have 3 months of severance to get my like dance like company or my dance classes up off the ground.
Yeah, I mean, that was like a similar thing. Like my boss didn't let me go right away. She cut me part time while I could start to build my client base. She helped me out a lot. I know like that was a tough decision for her, and I totally appreciate. I wouldn't have been able to do this without her, honestly.
That uh, that is really important. Like I think the relationships you have it helps so much in just making it through life. Like there's an appeal, I guess, in our culture of just trying to do stuff on your own, completely on your own. But
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
but having like
Boomer.
actually, yeah, yeah. But like actually making relationships is just it's fulfilling on a just interpersonal level, but it's also it helps you so much, especially when you're trying to do something as like potentially risky as like starting your own path in life.
Yeah, I mean, I think having a support system is integral, and I know, like, even in life, like, I wouldn't be here without my parents. Like, my mom is she's always got my back. She might not always agree with everything I do, but like she's gonna support me, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel very lucky to have been born into a family. I definitely am lucky. I'm a lucky person.
So I guess for you, what I 100% agree. There is a lot of life that is a level of luck, and some of it you can. Some there are some choices you can make that improve your odds, and there are some that will hurt your odds. But I guess how have you tried to go about improving your odds as life has gone on?
um, I guess working hard. Um, just always kind of looking forward to what what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? Like, what's the bigger picture? Like, it might suck right now, but like it's gonna get me to that. Like, and then it's gonna get me to that. And I guess also like I think a lot of people in our generation have a lot of side jobs. You know what I mean? So like I keep bees. I sell honey on the side. I also hula hoop and sometimes I get to do festivals and workshops and stuff, make a little extra on that. I don't know, just having like a lot of interest that can also kind of give you a little bit of extra kicking money now and again is a good thing.
No, I totally get that. I even though I have like this nice stable government job, I mean, it's once things calm down, 'cause I just moved, like I'm definitely gonna start moonlighting as a bartender at some point. Like
I want to buy real estate.
Yeah, I mean, like, me too.
To both- to
Yeah,
both those.
to both, yeah. And
Massachusetts is not the state for it. Like that is not going to be our market.
No.
If you are trying to get into real estate, like we got to go elsewhere. Like I own the house I'm at. Like I bought that right at the 2009 crash.
Oh man. Okay.
So
it's a great decision.
yeah, I lost my job 3 days after I signed the mortgage.
Wow.
What was that like? Like, were you like,
Yeah.
oh no?
That
What
was
was
the scariest friggin' moment of my life. Like I did not know what to do. I was grateful that I lost the job after signing the mortgage because I would have lost the house.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was really scared that I was going to default on the loan because it wasn't even move-in ready. I bought a foreclosure. I had to fix it up.
Oh.
So I
Man.
ended up, let me tell you, demolition, when you're really mad about losing your job, demolition is really fun.
I'd imagine it's therapeutic. Just like
Yeah.
this wall. Oh.
Even when you're not angry, demolition is fun.
Um, sorry, I think my cat's joining us.
Fun.
What's your cat's name?
uh, Haley, I can grab her. Haley,
Oh, Haley.
come here. She's a very fluffy little baby.
She's a
So
beaut.
cute.
um,
I would
yeah,
describe her as majestic.
she is. You should see her sister. She looks way more like a lion with like the big like mane.
Oh yeah.
Is her sister's name Nala?
Zoe.
Okay. Okay.
But did that for a reason. It means life. And she was like
Ooh,
the runt of the litter. So she has a lot of spirit in her.
nice. Did you like pick up your cats from friends or like or like a local breeder or like how did
A
you?
local rescue.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
We we're actually me and my partner are thinking about getting a cat, but I am allergic, so we need to
Oh,
actually get a very specific breed so that I can breathe around the house. Because
yeah,
breathing is important, like maintaining personal health.
definitely. Number
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And then you guys are also gonna get a corgi, and
Oh
then
yes.
I think I'm gonna get a golden doodle. So there's that.
That's awesome. Pets are
Yeah.
so great. They really bring a lot of joy.
Yep.
Yeah. So for your own personal journey and the process of having nutrition improve your life, can like I from a few of the people we've talked to, the journey of just working through both like physical and also emotional health can be a long and arduous one. Can you if you don't want to like more than like feel free to say no, but like can you tell us a bit more about like what that journey with like and how like nutrition has played a part in that?
Yeah. So 2018, I was really depressed and anxious. Um, it was bad. Like I could go from like being completely fine to like bawling my eyes out in the car on the way home for like no reason. And then my hair started falling out.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, so that was like, all right, now this is something I can't even hide from people anymore. Like, what is going on? Like, what's happening to me? Like, I don't know. So I was like, I can't clearly live like this anymore. So I went to see a dermatologist about my hair, and they said that I had an autoimmune disease called alopecia, and they didn't really offer me any way to fix it besides putting me on drugs. So like uh,
Wow.
they said topical minoxidil was something that I could do, which is basically like a blood pressure medication, I think, basically that you put on your scalp. And I had used that in the past, and I just didn't think that that was the way for me. And then they said, well, you could take a blood pressure medication. And I said, well, do I have a problem with my blood pressure? I'm like, it doesn't seem like that's the solution either.
Okay,
And
they're just bandages.
yeah, it's not even getting to the root cause. So that's that's crazy if, to me, that like Western medicine and doctors kind of just, yeah, put a band-aid on symptoms rather than like figuring out root cause and how to best support the body. So I started working with a nutritionist who is an NTP. That's the training that I'm going through now,
What is
and
a TP?
a nutritional therapy practitioner. So she taught me how to support my body, how to eat right. Um, it wasn't just eating and supplements, though. I will say it's a lot of lifestyle stuff, and um, also emotional. A lot of disease that you hold in your body can be trapped emotions, traumas that you might have gone through, limiting beliefs that you hold about yourself. Like those can actually manifest as symptoms. Like you know, for example, autoimmune disease can be if you feel guilt. If you hold guilt, that can come out as an autoimmune illness. Um, so I started working. She my therapist my nutritionist put me in touch with a therapist that does EFT. I think it
What's
stands
EFT
for
stand for?
emotional freedom technique, and it's
Okay.
tapping. So if you're into like acupuncture, if you're into like that kind of like modality, that's sort of what tapping is. So you'll tap on like points on your body as you talk about limiting beliefs or traumas or whatever it is that you think is could be causing, this disease in your body. And so, yeah, I started working on everything. Like I went into my first appointment with like a notebook of like, these are all the things from like pre-birth, like ancestral stuff, birth, being born cesarean section. When I was in utero, my mom, her mother passed away. Like I was like, let me
Wow.
just
Yeah.
go through everything. So yeah, I want to be able to help people, harness all these different types of healing pathways to get to the root cause and not just cover up, you know, whatever symptoms they're having.
It's really interesting that you like that you about this, a lot of the things you've addressed that are like targeting more like the root cause or a lot of like Eastern medicine. Because I think like part of Western medicine is drugs, especially like, I kind of define part of Western medicine being defined by like the finding of penicillin and just kind of like basically like how do we make the cleanest environment? How do we eliminate bacteria or viruses? Because, it's always about recovery, but it's always about, getting someone back to not being sick, but there's a big difference between not being sick and actually being like healthy. Like I don't think a lot of Western medicine really addresses how to be happy and be like when like just being stressed affects you like physically a ton. So it makes a ton
Stress is really bad because of cortisol levels. So like
right.
that's a hormone in your body. You have like all different kinds of hormones in your body, and being able to like regulate and balance your hormones is how you're going to have optimal health.
Yeah, but at the same time, at least very much in a lot of communities I'm aware of, there's very much a hustle culture of just work as hard as you can, stress yourself out, and then question mark, question mark, question mark, profit. Like there's almost a mindset. I think in it's almost like in planning for the future. There's a mindset of I will take whatever stresses are required along the way to get to that journey. Um, at least in there have been a lot of communities where that's been the case. So how do you I'm not sure if this is something you've experienced, but how would you recommend pressing against those cultural pressures?
That's a tough one. And I think we're all struggling with that after, during this pandemic. I think people are really realizing they've been pushing themselves for so hard for so long. And is this really how to live life? Is this really serving you? Like, I think we're all coming up on, I think globally we're all feeling that right now.
Yeah, like I definitely like being at MIT for 10 years and more than half of it being grad school. It was definitely like sacrifice now to enjoy later. And now that I've gotten to the later, it's like, well, you could be doing a side hustle to get to like getting a house. And it's kind of like, well, I I just can't obviously like push off like enjoying life until I'm like old because then I'll be in the ground. Like there has to be a point to where I just be like, I've worked hard and it's set me up really well, but I don't have to like, go full don't work at all, but like I could there has to be a happy balance.
Your hair is already
Exactly.
gray and it's been gray for a while. You should invest some time in your own well-being, happiness, and just enjoying the present.
To be fair, that happened all at once over a 6-month period called qualifying exams.
I'm not sure if that's an excuse or even a good thing.
No, it just means I'm a perpetual gray fox and I enjoy that.
So, I I guess how like touching on culture, how do you like share with your friends and family like uh I'd imagine like all at once your friends and family didn't necessarily come to they didn't have the same training you did. So like how do you introduce this to the people that are close to you?
I just bring food, you know, to people's houses. I think that that's like the easiest way for me to do it is share food with people, um, teach them about CSAs if they don't already know about that, because that's something you can implement right away. Um, but you can't just tell people unless they're willing and wanting to learn and make changes. Change is very hard. Um, so they have to want it. You need to know, I guess, what their motivation is, and and guide them to how to get there. You can't really just tell people what to do. You know, they will tell you, I guess, is what I want to say. You need to listen to them. And honestly, even if you're going to offer advice, asking them permission. Can I share this with you? You know what I mean? So that it's touchy, but the best thing that I can do is just share healthy meals with other people, and then they go, "Wow, this is really good. Like, can you share that recipe?" I'm like, "Yes." Honestly, what I've been doing is every month I've been going on my town's public TV station and sharing a recipe. So I've been doing this cooking show
Awesome.
with them, and yeah, I'm always trying to do like a healthy recipe that people can do at their homes. Only takes, under half an hour to throw together, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. So it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of this is kind of meeting people where they are and then helping them from where they are to see where they could be.
Exactly.
And I'd imagine this is something you were perfect at from day one.
No, I am just learning the skills. I'm reading a book right now about it, and I'm going to learn a lot more in this program. But I am learning those skills, and I can't wait to be good at it so that I can help a lot of people.
What is the book? Just so like other people who are interested.
Motivational interviewing in fitness and nutrition.
And
I was gonna say, I also just meeting people halfway. I think one of the biggest things is that people fail to realize is it's not a lot of people, even though change is hard, a lot of people don't fall into these habits by choice. It's not usually like convenience, like this is what was available. And so by taking that effort to be like, hey, this is a meal that's healthy that you can do in this short period of time that can fit in your schedule goes a really far way. Cause like I think a lot of people are like, well, if I'm gonna start cooking healthy, I have to do all this research. And next thing you know, I'm gonna have spent all the time allocated to cooking just figuring out what to do.
Exactly. No, I totally get that. And that's where the nutritional counseling comes into play. It's like taking the guesswork out because there's every website or every book you read, like someone's going to tell you something different. And it's like, what do I do? Like, which one do I try? Like, that was why I started working with my nutritionist. So it was like, I just need to know the way. Like, I can't try a million freaking things and keep hitting my head against the wall and not making any progress. Like, yeah, it's frustrating for people.
yeah, like there's 10,000 books that all say different things and 100,000 different websites that say even more different things. And I really think that, to be honest, I think that the amount of information that the internet and just widespread information has created has led to an overload so that it becomes much more difficult to parse because like making a decision between 10,000 different possible choices, how, how are you supposed to make a decision? Like, how are you supposed to actually not feel overwhelmed and just get started? So,
And let me tell you a secret, it's not a one size fits all. Everything is bio individual. So finding out what testing you can do to see what it is that your body specifically needs, that's
and,
huge.
and from an outside perspective, like, if I didn't know cooking and I was told now it needs to be even further customized to you, that would, I, I guess, how do you try and help people feel less overwhelmed?
right now, what I'm doing is I'm just doing the whole meal plan and cooking for them. So it takes all the guesswork out. Like I just send a menu a couple days ahead of when I go in there. I say, hey, does this look good? Was everyone gonna be happy eating this week? Like, and so I just take all the guesswork out. I just do it. Um, but I would like to start coaching people into being able to make those choices for themselves. Or, like if I could give them, a sheet with like a bunch of different things, different meals listed on it, and I say, hey, read this sheet and put a check mark next to anything that sounds really good. And then once they have these check marks, they could be like, is this something that you think you'll make this week? Or how do you think you could set yourself up that you can like cook these meals this week?
So what? So that is the goal that you want to get to for your clients. What is your personal process right now for like talking to the clients and then making that meal for them?
Right now, it's just super, super like low key, laid back, and I'll just chat with them on the phone, during their initial consultation and find out, all right, what does each person in your family like? What do they not like? What are some things you want to incorporate? Are there any health goals that you guys are looking towards? If you have small kids, what are some of their favorite foods? Because we need to make sure they're super happy too. Um, are there things that can help you save time? Like if I cut up some crudité, like sliced vegetables for you to, bring hummus to work, is that going to help your week? If you have fresh cut fruit, so that no one has to like wash and cut and slice, like will that help, the kids eat more fruit during the day? Um, it's very personalized to each of these families, and I just kind of go through it in the initial consultation, and then what I always stress is this is like a working relationship where it's only going to get better with time, but it's only going to get better if you give me guidance and feedback. Like I want feedback early on, so that we can make the adjustments and that I can like become like more in tune with their eating habits.
I think you bring up like a lot of important things there, right? Like there's the idea, like the fact is, like earlier you were saying, like the right option for everyone is going to be specific to their bodies, and along those lines, it's how do you one find something that's like convenient, having this, there's a lot different fruit you can slice. So what are the ones you actually like, and just making it so that like along with like eating healthy, there's always like the idea like, oh, I'm going to cut out everything I like, and it's not going to be this sustainable diet. I'll be eating quinoa like 24/7, but like being like, no, I could, like one of the things my girlfriend introduced me to, because like like I like dips a lot. I like buffalo chicken dip and stuff like that, and she's like, you don't have to eat it with chips or crackers. You can have like red bell pepper in it. I'm like, and now I don't feel bad eating that, and it's
Yeah,
great.
definitely. I mean, I'm gluten free, so I'm used to always having to dip like veggies into my dips. No one ever really has gluten free crackers and chips on hand, but
They're not they're
at
not the
least they
most
exist. But
so in working with these clients to have this kind of ongoing relationship as well as just generally like in this past year or so, what have been some of the highs and lows of or like highs, lows of this experience, of this journey?
I would say the highs right now is my family right now with the man with cancer. Um, the fact that I could bring some joy into his life right now has been so rewarding. Like it feels so good being able to make him happy and enjoy food that's really helping him, helping his body. Um, the lows, this is gonna sound crazy. One of the houses I was at had this au pair, and she was here from Spain, and she ended up staying longer because of the pandemic. And she just went back home, and that has probably been the low. Like it's I'm bummed every Wednesday. I don't get to see her anymore. She is like such a wonderful soul. I think, yeah, the connections have been awesome, and yeah, just missing, I guess, missing a friend. That's been the worst of it.
I mean, that goes back to a lot of what we were saying earlier with the importance of connections, and two, just like there are very few things in this world that are like universally unifying, and food is like one of them. It doesn't matter what culture you come from, you could always share something and receive something from others, because food is just it is like another language, but you can understand it by just eating it. And like,
Yeah. There's I don't know if you guys know Cane's Donuts.
I don't think I do.
Oh my god, Cane's Donuts is like kind of world famous. They're probably like one of the best donuts you'll ever get, like at least on the North Shore, like north side of the city. But their slogan is donuts are love. I think food is love. Like it really
Yeah.
is.
So I know
When do you remember were you guys at MIT when the marathon bombing happened?
yes.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was a junior. Yeah.
I was in culinary school at the time, and our teachers just said to us, the best thing that we can do as chefs is bring food to people. Like food is healing. And so like we had like this big chowder cook off, and we made like all this chowder for to raise money for the victims of the bombing.
That that actually that really resonates because I'm not going to go into detail, but there were some other traumatic events that happened at MIT, and I think some of the things that helped the most were when people brought in food so that the people who were suffering didn't have to worry about how they would take care of themselves. They could just eat something delicious and nutritious and have that taken care for.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, like even after like a funeral and stuff, like a lot of people will bring food to the family, or you'll have like a whole meal as a family after. Like food is definitely a big a healing thing. Honestly, the first episode that I did on What's Cooking on Saga's TV, it was during uh, when the Asian hate stuff was happening, and I was like,
Yeah.
all right, I have this platform. I'm going to be on television. How can I use my platform for social good? So it's like, I'm going to do an Asian style recipe, and I'm going to pause during it and talk about the Stop Asian Hate website and resources that people could use. Um, I think you can learn a lot about cultures through food, and so many people enjoy so many other cultures' food, and then there's like this hate, and it's like, how? But it doesn't make sense. Like food
I
should
think
bring people together.
you're bringing up a good point there, that a lot of the hate is irrational, because I think a lot of times when people are like, hating on something, like the media is very political nowadays. It's very hard to like watch the news without there being like a take right or left leaning. But it always leads to kind of this very nebulous hate. Like people will be angry at a certain group of people, but they're not thinking of an individual person, and it's probably because there's this disconnect. But like when you're saying, okay, I'm going to share this culture's food with you, you're reconnecting with them. And it's like, are these people really like some correspondent on the news made me angry at these people by saying XYZ, but these people didn't really affect me in that way. Instead, they bring joy to my life because I love their cuisine. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's my favorite part about traveling is checking out all the different foods around, different places.
It's so good. I think my favorite part of traveling is like I love doing like the very touristy things, because there's very good reason that they're touristy things. So I love to be like, what's like the most touristy food, and then like what is like the hole in the wall, like what is this,
Yes.
where the locals get their food from.
Yes, there's this place in Aruba called Z Rover. Total local spot. Like you would not go there as a tourist, but oh my gosh. They have these boats that come in right from the ocean and drop the fish right there at the restaurant, and then they like cook it for you. It's like so good.
It's like instead of right, it's instead of farm to table, it's like harbor to table.
Yeah.
Uh,
Super cool.
it like following up on this point, I went to Germany a few years ago, and I had something called doner kebab, which is basically it's basically Turkish food made in Germany. And by having that and being exposed to that, I learned, I would say the closest similarity to the United States would be like Mexican food in the United States, as in there's a neighboring country where immigrants come across the border and bring their culture with them and bring their food with them. And there there is the same level of like interest in the cuisine, but also some level of cultural tension. And really it's really interesting how much you can learn just by being exposed to the cuisines and the history behind them in different cultures.
Yeah. That's interesting because when I was in Germany, I remember all the kebab shops, and I was like, "What? I don't understand in Germany. Like, I don't understand." But that makes sense. It's like a you put it very well.
Yeah. Eh, I mean, it did help in my case that I was there as an exchange student, so I had a host who could help guide me through that. Um, but it also didn't help that I was 16 and the age, the age of drinking is 16, and that was my first time drinking, and I had a rough time there. But aside from that, I did learn a lot about the culture. Other than that, um, so in terms of like how like in terms of where you want to go from here, take sassy cuisine from here, you want to like start teaching people how to take care of themselves and like take the knowledge you've learned and help find ways where you can share that knowledge in a way that will actually be received. So like it that's your immediate like future goals for the business. Where are you seeing this in the like long stretch goals?
um, I mean, maybe I hire a team. Maybe there's so many people that need help that I could hire more nutritionists. I definitely see this as what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life.
So cool. Where it's like I always see like because I read like a lot of financial things, I always see like, oh, I'm going to do fire, which is that whole concept of like being very frugal and retiring early, and it's very refreshing to see like I'm not my goal isn't to retire early. My goal is I found this passion. I want to see it to the end. Like this is what I want to share and bring to make the world a better, brighter place.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many hurting people in the world. Like, if I could start planting seeds, across with each person, it's going to make the world a brighter place. I just wish there was more education with kids in the school systems. How to grow food. How eating healthy food, the food that they're fed in the schools. Like, I don't know. I wish the government would take a little more of a better approach, especially now with the pandemic. Like, thank God for that vaccine, but like, also, we need to feed ourselves and take care of ourselves because we can make ourselves healthier too, you know?
Yeah, no, it's definitely true. Like I remember when I don't know if it was when you were in like elementary school and stuff, but when we were like like the most important part of the food pyramid was like you had to eat grains. And that was entirely pushed by General Mills because
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I don't know
They
about
did start as it did start as a health thing, but capitalism sort of ruins that.
yeah.
also I don't know about your grade schools, but at mine, like pizza, cookies, and pretzels were like the number one thing that everyone bought and ate. So
Well, because part of like government regulation is you have to have a serving of vegetables. And tomato sauce and ketchup count as tomatoes and therefore a serving of vegetables.
I used to get mad at my mom because she didn't let us buy school lunch and we had to take our own lunches. And oh my God, I know why now. Like, she was doing what was best for us. Like, I wouldn't, if
Yeah.
I had kids, I wouldn't send them to school to eat that either.
Growing up, my parents really didn't want me to have McDonald's. And then one of my aunts who was like one of my relatives who was babysitting me one day just took me to McDonald's. And then I demanded it every single day from then on for a few years. And that, like, I think my parents had the right idea. And I'm not sure if, like, the almost addictive nature, or not even necessarily almost, the addictive nature of fast food to just lead to such a craving for that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
done on purpose. It's the chemicals in the food. And so, like, a lot of people today are saying they don't have the willpower to change their diets. It's not willpower. There's like actual chemical addictions happening in the body. Like, you are chemically addicted. It is not your lack of willpower. Like, you're not eating food, you're eating food like substances and chemicals.
Yeah, and it's
We're
like,
fighting like a hard machine here, you know?
and it's crazy too, because like once you like get off it, because I remember like once I started cooking more for myself, 'cause now my diet's mostly meat and vegetables because what I like, and it's very
Yeah.
little processed. But now I can't drink like Gatorade. It's just so much sugar. I was like, oh my god, this is
And
like,
food coloring.
yeah, it's like I compare Gatorade now to like cough syrup. It's like that sugary thick. I was like,
Yeah, it's crazy. I stopped eating, I remember I was in college at the time. It was 2001. It was the last time I bought fast food. I remember going to McDonald's and I ate a burger and I got so sick. And I was like, it's not food. Like, this is not food, guys. Like, and that was the last time. Like, I don't even know what's on the menu anymore. Like, it's been that long, and I
well,
don't
it
eat
hasn't
it.
changed. It's just gone up in price because that's
But let me tell
capitalism.
you, I love a hamburger and I will eat a hamburger, but that's gonna be real ass ground beef. Like, it's
Yeah.
not gonna be some pink slime, like, in some preservative laden bun that doesn't decompose. Like, I'm gonna eat some real ass French fries that's like a cut up potato fried and a burger.
yeah, and honestly, when you learn how to cook your own burger, it's awesome.
Oh,
It's so much better because there's a lot more flavor. You can actually like season the
Yes.
meat and like add whatever spices that you enjoy. And that, like, there are some people I know who growing up all they were exposed to was salt and pepper and they didn't know any other seasonings.
yeah, I know people like that.
And then we have our friends who don't even use salt and pepper.
I know people
Yeah.
like that too. One of the things they taught us in culinary school is you salt and pepper everything. I don't care if it's lettuce on a plate. You put the salt and pepper.
It's so true. It's like because the thing is, I think people are like they're well, because people are like, well, what is like the easiest step I can do to be healthy? And they're always like, cut salt out of your diet, and then so people, but then it backfires because you don't want to eat the food because it's bland,
All right,
and
so
it's
you
like,
know what you should cut is crappy salt. But if you're gonna have sea salt that has lots of minerals and all the natural stuff, I mean, we're just talking about regular ass sodium, like that sodium table salt, like no. But salt, like sea salt, is really good for you. One of my nutritionist friends, honestly, she salts her water. There's electrolytes. It's Gatorade. It's natural Gatorade. Like, salt is not evil. But I will say, what my client with cancer, like I don't cook any salt in his foods. I don't know why. That was like the recommendation from his medical team. So I'd like to dive deeper into my nutrition training to understand like why he specifically can't have salt. But there is salt naturally found in foods. Um, so he is getting some salt just naturally. And let me tell you, it has been a learning process trying to cook without oil and salt. Uh, so I said to him right away when I started working with him, I'm like, bear with me for the first few weeks as I get used to like not using oil and salt because I'm all about olive oil and sea salt. Like I use a lot of that in my own cooking.
I have a theory why he might not be able to have salt because it was a study. I was like, because like there's kind of like one of the things I was reading about is like companies keep putting sugar in everything to make it addicting, and it's like very clear. Like I think sugar is going to go the way of tobacco, where it's like there's going to be all these heart disease studies coming out, and like basically they're going to be this huge push against sugar eventually.
There's
But
already stuff on it. Like there,
right,
yeah.
but there was an interesting one. They did the same study with salt. They're like, are you? They had a control group, and they had a group of people that were like had less salt, and another group that had more salt. And they were studying like what how its effect on the heart, like whether or not you were more likely to have a heart attack. And they found that the control loop or the control group was the least likely to have a heart attack. People who decreased their salt and people who increased their salt had were more likely to have a heart attack. And I think it has to do with like you need salt because you need the sodium for like your synapses in your brain to fire. And I think there's like the amount of salt you're supposed to have in your diet is heavily tied to the amount of water you have in your diet. And you have to balance that. So I wonder if he, because of the cancer, has like struggles with like water retention or stuff. And so it has to be very low sodium.
That could be a thing because I know like it's prostate cancer and that's like a gland. So it very well could be something like that. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Okay. So then just final question to wrap things up. So for someone looking to follow along in your shoes, to follow in your path, what would you say to someone who's interested in getting started down that road?
Read books, uh, go to school if you have, the means to do that, to study, whether it be culinary or nutrition or both. They really go hand in hand. Um, Having a support system. Make sure you have that support system because it's gonna get tough. You're gonna be scared at times, and you're gonna need to bounce ideas off of people. And just knowing who you could reach out to in those times is gonna be huge. And still keeping your a time and space for yourself to keep your mental sanity and keep your body moving. Uh, even if it's just going on a walk every day, getting some sunshine and going for a walk.
so I guess okay, another question, just as so along the lines of like obviously taking the steps to like eating better and healthier has this huge impact. And you're also mentioning take a walk every day. Is there anything maybe not food related that you recommend to like helping improve both mental and physical health?
Moving your body. So even before I started working with a nutritionist, this is how I found hula hooping. I was looking for an activity that I could do every day that was fun and exciting to look forward to, and that helped me remember how to laugh again and be silly and not take myself so seriously.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So are you still doing that now? Like last
I
time
went
we
to the
went to
park today and hooped. I
Oh,
met you
awesome.
guys at a hoop thing.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you gonna be going to Boston Spin Jam regularly?
Um, so I think if it's still on Mondays, I do have time now on Monday nights.
We've started going, so it would be great to see you there.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Amanda, for joining us. Uh, before we let you go, do you want to like plug any socials or anything for Sassy Cuisine?
Yeah, if you're interested in seeing any of my hobbies like food or hula hoops or beekeeping or cats, you could follow me on my Instagram. It's Sassy Chef Amanda, and I post a lot of stuff on like health and nutrition and some hoop stuff, some pretty food, you know.
Some fantastic cats.
Oh, there's a lot of floof on there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. Thank you very much again for joining us, Amanda. And we will hopefully see you soon at the next Spin Jam.
Yeah, thank you so
Yeah.
much for having me. Like this was really, really nice to like be able to talk to someone else about. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you at Spin Jam.
Yeah, it'll be exciting.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun. Okay. See you there. Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was a delicious episode. If you enjoyed it, we'd really appreciate a like, comment, and subscribe.
Or give us some balloons?
Or share some food with us.
Yeah, this episode really made me hungry.